I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here as we prepare for race 28 of Season 7 of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series playoff race number 2 as we continue on our journey towards the championship here this afternoon at the dirt-surfaced Chatham Raceway. We were at the paved version one season ago. Now we're at the dirt version. It'll be the final dirt track that these drivers will have to tackle. It's only the second dirt track they've been on this entire season. The first one was Bristol Dirt just before the cutoff for the regular season. And this is going to be an interesting one because a lot of different variables coming into play. Not only is it going to be our next to last, I believe, road course on the season. Actually, I'll have to double check on that. I don't actually think that's correct because I think we've got Canadian Tire that's coming up, and I believe that ended up replacing Charlotte Roval. So this might be our next to last road course. I don't remember if we're going back to Lime Rock or not either. My brain's not currently working at the moment as far as the schedule, and I don't have the schedule in front of me. So we'll just cross that bridge when we come to it. But nonetheless, it is a dirt-covered road course, and these drivers have been supplied with a smaller fuel cell, much similar to what we did back at Mid-Ohio, which means that pit road will come more into play here in this race than it would have normally. You go back to Watkins Glen, they had a regular fuel capacity tank. We ended up seeing that come down to fuel strategy, but it wasn't due to the fact that they had less fuel in the car. They do have less fuel in the car here today. And it's 60 laps of racing as well, so it's going to make things very interesting in terms of strategy. But one driver that has a rocket ship here this week at Chatham is Cody Lamas. He was a lot of fun to watch in yesterday's last round of qualifying. 3 consecutive laps, he continued to improve on his lap time. He currently this weekend holds the record for a Duracell Cup Series driver's lap time here at Chatham, and subsequently he is the pole sitter. We'll see if he's able to have that good fire-off speed here once we go green. He's going to share the front row with the highest starting playoff driver, and that is Ryan Butcher. Now, Ryan comes off a top 5 run last week at Gateway, so a lot of momentum and a lot of good points garnered by driver 78. He is 3rd in the overall playoff points right now, the second highest of the drivers that have not yet locked themselves in, and he is a total of 20 points ahead of that critical 12th in the standings cut line coming into this afternoon, with only one race left to run after the conclusion of this, the elimination race next week at Nashville Superspeedway. So will track position be important for Ryan Butcher to maybe garner his 2nd straight top 5 here in the playoffs? We're going to have to wait and see. I've said the word enough. It's time to show you the playoffs, and we'll bring up the graphic here. Matthew Rodriguez, last week, his 3rd win on the season, but most importantly, locking himself into the round of 12. He could DNF here today. He could DNF a week from now at Nashville Superspeedway. He will be moving on to the next round of the playoffs, regardless of what happens. Casey Hoyt, with a solid top 10 run last week. I believe he brought it home in the 10th position. Probably should have finished a lot better, but had some struggles with pit road execution, getting onto pit lane, and that lost him some spots in the closing stages. But he is currently the highest driver in the playoffs that is not locked in at this point in time. He is currently a total of quick math, 24 points ahead of the cut line. I was thinking the wrong number, and I had to make sure to double-check myself. Ryan Butcher, as we mentioned, he is a total of 20 points ahead of the cut line in third, and then it gets very interesting from fourth place on down, because Connor Breton, he is only 11 points to the good. Dylan Poteet is only 10 points to the good. Actually, correction, Breton is 12 points to the good. Poteet is 11 points to the good. Dustin Bolin, who is right now in the 6th position, he is a total of 9 points to the good above that 12th in the standings cut line. Caleb Fogler is 8. Keith Batson is 6. 4 points for Austin LaPlante and Jessica Shelton, and Rob Evans is only 1 point ahead of that 12th in the standings cut line, which is right now held by James Qualls. Drivers that struggled last week, Dylan Young dropped below the cut line, -2 points. Jesse Turner dropped below the cut line, -3. Zach Rogers dropped below the cut line. He is -5. And the big one that's really going to need a good run here tonight, because he didn't have the benefit of any bonus points with a victory during the course of the regular season, and he was in the 17th seed coming into this race, or into last week's race, I should say, suffered a DNF, and that is Reese Banks. He has a total of 19 points already below that cut line. Needs to get those points back here this week to avoid going into next week's elimination race at Nashville Superspeedway in a must-win scenario. But I'm ready to get this race started. Hope you guys are too. I know the drivers certainly are. We're getting ready to write the second chapter here of our 10-race journey towards the championship here in the playoffs. And let's go down trackside and get those most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engine!
Let's go out there and have a good time today. Make it happen at the end, my friend. Big thumbs up here. You're ready to rock and roll. Good luck to you guys on pit road down there today.
Last week at Gateway, we ended up seeing a total of 5 playoff drivers make their way into the top 10 through qualifying. This week, only 3. Ryan Butcher, Casey Hoyt, and Zach Rogers, who will start inside of the top 7. Butcher and Hoyt currently 2nd and 3rd in the playoff standings. Zach Rogers below the cut line in 15th. All 3 drivers hoping that this good starting track position will translate by the end of the day into very valuable maximum points. We'll have to wait and see. Well, Matt Haas is the defending winner of this race. Last year when it was paved, last season was when Chatham made its debut on the schedule. Now it's back, but it's covered in dirt. The dust will be flying, and when it settles, will we have a second playoff driver locking themselves into the round of 12 off the heels of Rodriguez's win last week at Gateway? It's Cody Lamas, non-playoff driver, bringing his Chevrolet down. Playoff contender Toyota Camry of Ryan Butcher to his outside, and the green flag's in the air. We're racing at Chatham Dirt. Around the sweeping left-hand 1 and 2, down the hill into the S's. Double wide here through the S's. If they get brave, they may attempt 3 wide. It looks like at least up towards the front, most of them remained in the double file formation. Now they'll try and get themselves settled out here into little intermittent battles all the way through the top 10 to the rear of the field. Cody Lamas is going to lead the first lap. Osborne is clear into 2nd. 3rd place is going to be Ryan Butcher, and this is the closest battle at the front right now for 4th. Zach Rogers and Casey Hoyt, playoff contenders side by side. For spots inside of the top 5, Rogers should have the advantage down here into the left-hander after the downhill braking zone. He'll clear for the spot. Anthony McCrory going to look to move on by as well. Hoyt almost off track there with the right sides. Gathers it back up, but not before McCrory will take away the 5th position. And now Casey Hoyt continues to be under fire. Now it's Levi McIntyre, former winner on the season, looking for P6. He'll snipe it there at the line, look to complete the pass here through 1 and 2, and indeed he will. Now Casey Hoyt will try and tuck into line, falling all the way back to 7th, as I believe a caution is out. Yes, it is. Yellow flag waves already for the first time today on lap number 2. And oh boy. Second straight week struggles might have occurred for the 44 of Reese Banks. That car looks a little bit shortened in the back end there. Doesn't look like it's earth-shattering damage. He looks like he could be alright. He's the only driver I'm seeing here towards the rear of the field with damage, so it may have just been a solo car incident in terms of the driver spinning. I think that he probably had some contact helping him around. And let's stay here with the leaders before we go back and look at the replay, because I mentioned about the lower fuel tank capacity, and yeah, I thought we were going to have this with some split strategy. Some drivers feeling they want to take the opportunity here under caution to come down pit road, top off the fuel tank, extend the green flag run if we get one a little bit further. But on the flip side, you've got Ryan Butcher, who is a playoff driver trying to get every point possible, and he wants that bonus point for a lap led, so he'll give up the extra 2 or 3 lap security of fuel, and he will lead that lap and more than likely be the one that gets us back under the green flag. Let's drop back and take a look and see what occurred with Reese Banks in the 44. If I had to make a wager on what section of the racetrack this occurred, I would say it was probably in the S's, just after the downhill zone. It's a very, very tight area of the racetrack, and a lot of times contact can take place, and indeed that is where it is. Let's see who the driver is that gets him. Oh, a little combination there of Matt McIntyre getting into Nico Servideo. That sends Reese Banks rear first into the tire barrier, but you saw him kind of bounce out of the tire barrier. More often than not, you go into the tire barrier, it grabs you and holds you, so very fortunate there, not only to bounce out of the tire barrier, but also I think to hit with the rear end of the race car, because if it hit with the front end where the engine is housed, it might have been an early night for Reese Banks. And unfortunately, that sign is in the way there of that camera shot, so we weren't able to really see the initial contact, but it was Matt McIntyre getting into Nico Servideo, then got into Reese Banks. Green flag already back out here again, much like we ended up having back at Watkins Glen and Mid-Ohio. They have pit road open one time, then we get the 1 to green and go back racing, so we just barely got back here in time for the green flag to fly. It looks like Reese Banks has returned to the track right in front of the leader, so he is on the tail end of the lead lap and trying to keep Ryan Butcher in the rearview mirror. He's going to have to hope for a caution. Also, an update, we'll have to use our NNSCRA split cam for this, but the 38 of Jose Mills is back behind the wall and out of this race. And I have no idea why. So hopefully we'll be able to figure that out here for you guys. I'll be kept in the dark until more than likely after this race is over. That's a battle going on here for third place. Chris Dollerton and Anthony McCurry side by side. Dollerton will take the spot, and here comes his teammate, Caleb Fogler. Now trying to get by Anthony McCurry. That would be for fourth, and Fogler will take it. 3 wide here. Dylan Young forcing the issue with Matthew Rodriguez and Anthony McCurry down the front straightaway. A couple of playoff contenders there in the 24 and the 2. Matthew Rodriguez locked into the round of 12 with his victory last week. Dylan Young below the cut line by 2 points coming into this afternoon's race, and mixing it up there with non-playoff driver Anthony McCurry. Looks like Ryan Butcher has gotten around Reese Banks, so Banks is going to fall a lap down, which is not good for the 44 because he is the only driver 1 lap down right now. Scored in the 41st position. He needed a caution to come out a couple of laps ago when he was just ahead of the 78. And that's another thing, too, that we'll have to keep an eye on in terms of drivers getting involved in incidents, bringing out the caution, and having to repair damage, because with having that quick 1 to green signal, the 44 team didn't have a lot of time to be able to work on repairing the Aldo's Pizza Ford Mustang. And he just barely got off of pit road before the field went green. So it's looking like, according to scoring, we ended up having a total of 12 drivers that stayed out under that yellow flag. Cody Lamas is currently the highest ranked of the drivers that did come to pit road, that has that security blanket of about 2 or 3 laps, and he's already worked his way from 13th now up to 9th and continuing to work his way up here to the front. So it looks like they didn't make very much in terms of changes of that car from qualifying here to race. As he has gotten by Nathan Norman, now sets his sights on Ryan Brommer. Next highest running driver that has that extra couple laps of fuel is Kyle Matthews, and he's back in 14th. Couple of Fords going to mix it up for second place, looks like here. Chris Dollerton closing in on Levi McIntyre. And Caleb Fogler not too far behind them in the 4th position. The drivers that can list off here that did not come to pit road, that will probably set the tone for if we get into round of green flag pit stops, be the first ones on pit lane. Your current race leader, Ryan Butcher, Levi McIntyre, Chris Dollerton, Caleb Fogler, Matthew Rodriguez, Anthony McCurry, Dylan Young, Ryan Brommer, as well as Nathan Norman, Matt McIntyre, Laura Chung, and Rob Evans. Those are the 12 drivers that stayed out under the yellow flag, as Dollerton trying to complete the pass around Levi McIntyre, who's not going to give it up easily. Now I think he'll have to. Dollerton clears and he'll move into the runner-up position. So Dollerton now will set his sights on Ryan Butcher. He's got about 2 seconds to make up, and the lap machine of Reese Banks in between him and the 78. So not exactly certain what the fuel window is for these drivers, obviously. With that early caution coming out, it will mix things up in terms of strategy, but does that make a difference into how many pit stops it's going to take to get to the conclusion of this race? Did that extra 2 or 3 laps that most of the field have available to them outside of the 12 drivers that stayed out, does that mean now it's only a 1-stop as opposed to a 2-stop? Does it mean it's a 2-stop as opposed to a 3-stop? Or are they all still going to have to make the same number of pit stops before the conclusion? Ryan Butcher laying down some good lap times here. That last time by, he was only about a little more than a tenth slower than his fastest lap. And he's got the, and I'll put this in air quotes, proverbial clean air. Don't know how much clean air you can get at a dirt track, but when I mean clean air, especially at a road course, he doesn't have to adhere to somebody else's braking zone. He's able to run whatever line he wants to through the S's. A little bit of an ease of passage for driver 78, and Chris Dollerton here. The difference for him is he's got the 44 up ahead of him, so not only is he maybe watching the line that the 44 is running, trying to figure out a plan to get by him, but you can see the dirt and dust that's getting kicked up here all the way around the racetrack. That's got to be distracting visibly when you're trying to figure out where you want to run, and all of a sudden there's a cloud of dust in your field of view. Chris Dollerton, though, in his past, does have a victory at a dirt track. It wasn't a road course, but it was a dirt track, Fuel Motorsports Park, and he's come to pit lane along with Ryan Butcher and Anthony McCurry, so there you go. It's like these drivers were able to go about maybe 10 laps or so before having to come to pit lane. And that's going to turn the lead now over to Levi McIntyre in the 99. Let's go on board with playoff contender and former champion Caleb Fogler. See what it looks like behind the wheel of a car here at Chatham Dirt. And he's coming to pit road right behind Levi McIntyre. Someone just got the pit wall. Was that Matthew Rodriguez? Yeah, the caution's out. I think Matthew Rodriguez just hit the pit wall, and that's going to bring out the yellow flag. And some drivers had just finished up their pit stops there. Oh, man, are these guys going to be able to go around the pace car? Yes, they are. They'll be able to stay on the tail end of the lead lap, it looks like. Yeah, looks like they're going by the race leaders. These guys got to whoa up. Wait, who is the leader? It's Cody Lamas. Cody's got to wait for the pace car to pick him up before they get to the pit road entrance. Otherwise, he's going to get a black flag for passing the pace car. But Cody re-inherited the lead after Levi McIntyre, Caleb Fogler, and others came to pit road. Cody's going to pick up the pace car there. Boy, Matthew Rodriguez has got to feel good about the fact that he has that win in the bank and is locked into the next round of the playoffs, right? I think Rodriguez is already out of the race. And I'm also being told the 23 of Nathan Ormond is out of the race. Did he get into the 24? Or did Ormond get the wall and then Rodriguez got Ormond? Let's see what the situation was here. We saw on board there with Caleb Fogler, very low visibility with those dust clouds being kicked up. Did that kind of come into play with Rodriguez not knowing where the pit wall was? Oh, yeah, oh, there's where Ormond gets it. Yeah, Rodriguez, it looks like he was trying to follow in line there behind, who was that, Dylan Young, I think? And then realized, oh, wait, I'm not far enough left, and clobbered the pit wall, and then nowhere for Nathan Ormond, who won the last road course we were at, Watkins Glen, to go. Let's take a look and see if there was a visibility problem here for driver 24, because I think he came in right behind Caleb Fogler, actually. And we saw with Fogler, there was not that much visibility available. Here's on board with the 24 car. Oh. Man, how did Dylan Young not get involved? 24 kind of shot back, and it's amazing that D. Young didn't get a piece of it. But I think we're getting ready to go back green, so we're going to head back to live. And Will Goss is going to be the new race leader, another playoff driver out in front. After Cody Lamas came to pit road from the race lead, Will, I think, was 5th. And he stayed out to get this track position and this bonus point. So Matthew Rodriguez, Nathan Ormond, and Jose Mills out of the race at this point in time as we're nearing a third of the way through this one. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there might be a little bit of front-end damage there on the 11 of Will Goss. As we had some drivers that were on pit road and they just barely got off of pit lane before the leaders caught them. Daniel Voiles is going to make a quick pass there for the lead on Will Goss. But Anthony McCurry and Ryan Butcher, Casey Hoyt, they just barely got off of pit road before the leaders came around, and now Voiles and Goss are coming in. So does that turn the race lead over, I believe, to Michael Norman? Yes, it does. This is what the smaller fuel cell is doing in terms of pit strategy. Some drivers are realizing, I could come to pit lane when the caution comes out, or with this being as big a racetrack as it is, I could stay out, I could lead a lap, I could get my service done, come out still on the lead lap, maybe catch a quick caution and get that track position back. A lot of varying strategies going on here this afternoon at Chatham Dirt. As we're looking at the three-way battle for second place, Kyle Matthews, Laura Chung, and playoff contender Zach Rogers. It's all going on behind the 22 of Michael Norman, who's enjoying about a second lead. Back now to second place Matthews. Chung in third, Rogers in fourth. Matt Haas, defending winner of this race, would love to say that he's won at Chatham Dirt on both the asphalt and dirt surface in back-to-back years. Right now he's holding down the 5th position, and then Cody Lamas currently in 6th. RJ Bishop, very good dirt track racer, currently in 7th, and then some more playoff drivers right behind him. Rob Evans currently in 8th. He just got around Jesse Turner for that spot. Turner currently in 9th, and then the battle is on for 10th between Mitchell Collins and Joshua Osborne. Collins is going to at least be scored 10th this lap around. Some more playoff drivers just outside the top 10 there. Dustin Bolin in 11th. Correction, make that 12th. Keith Batson in 13th, and Jessica Shelton there in the 14th spot. As we move back up here to the front, Kyle Matthews under fire from Cody Lamas. Matthews losing a few spots right there. Matt Haas got around him, Zach Rogers got around him, and now Cody gets around him, so the 0-9 falling back. As Laura Chung in the 2nd spot, trying to close in on the 22 of Michael Norman. Daniel Voiles and Will Goss, they returned back to the track after their pit stop, but you see they have now fallen a lap down to Michael Norman. So they're going to hope that this entire green flag pit stop cycle continues and completes so they can get back on the tail end of the lead lap, or maybe cycle right back around to the front of the field. Michael Norman with a road course victory last year at Lime Rock, I should say. Tried to get his first win on the season. A 3-time winner last year, still a 0 in the win column. As he's trying to close up there on Ryan Butcher, put him a lap down, but Butcher is racing for all that he's worth to stay on the tail end of the lead lap. After starting this race from the outside of the front row, Anthony McCurry trying to do exactly the same. They're right now on the tail end of the lead lap. There is Casey Hoyt and Levi McIntyre as well. Chris Dollerton also. These are drivers that were up inside of the top 5, top 10 in the very early stages of this race. And now they're fighting to stay on the tail end of the lead lap, hoping that this pit stop cycle plays out into their favor. Norman continues to show the way. Let's drop back here to our best battle, which I think is going to be for 4th place. Fastest car on the racetrack all week long has been Cody Lamas, and he's trying to reel in last year's winner from here, Matt Haas, for P4. Third of the way through this race here. Still a long ways to go, a lot of strategy yet to play out. Keeping a wary eye on pit lane here, seeing if any of our leaders are coming down pit road. I don't know if our scoring is absolutely correct in this, but it's saying that Laura Chung in the 2nd spot has only made 1 pit stop. Everybody else has made 2. So Laura Chung must be playing some really, really big strategy right now in terms of fuel. Gotta think that we're going to see her on pit road pretty shortly, as she's having some difficulty with the lap car of Will Goss, and that's bringing Zach Rogers right to her in the battle for the runner-up spot. Zach Rogers, we've already documented the struggling regular season he had, leading right up to Atlanta, when he then got that victory and was able to score enough points afterwards at Bristol Dirt and Auto Club to get into a wild card spot, advance here into the playoffs. Rogers didn't have the best of runs last week at Gateway, so subsequently he's below the cut line coming into this race, but only by 5 points. And we're going to check in the back of the pack on our other playoff contenders that we really haven't seen yet so far here tonight. Got to find James Qualls, got to find Austin LaPlante, Connor Breton, Dylan Poteet. There's Breton, battling with Jessica Shelton. Those two were spending most of the second half of the regular season trying to keep themselves in the top 30 in points for wildcard spots. Breton was scored 13th last time by. There's Dylan Poteet. Right now he is scored in the 26th position. Austin LaPlante, last time by, was scored in 28th. Both those drivers, Poteet and LaPlante, came into this race above the cut line. There's James Qualls, who was the cut line driver. He is currently scored in 32nd. And we know that, I believe, Dylan Young and Jesse Turner, Zach Rogers, we know for certain, are all running ahead of him on the racetrack, so he could very much be in danger of falling below the cut line rather than being the cut line. Casey Hoyt, after his great run last week, pit strategy, at least so far, not working out for him. He's currently in 35th. And then we already documented Ryan Butcher, who is the last car on the lead lap, currently scored in 37th. Will Goss is a lap down. He is the furthest in the running order of the playoff contenders, still running in 39th position. And Laura Chung is starting to close in on Michael Norman for the top spot. Norman might have Voiles and Will Goss trying to get their laps back here momentarily, and he's going to make the dive onto pit road, actually. Laura Chung's going to come down with him. So that's going to give Zach Rogers the race lead. So Rogers becomes yet another playoff driver that will lead a lap here this afternoon. If you're just joining us as we're nearing the halfway point, we've worked 2 cautions so far. 3 drivers out of the race, Jose Mills, Nathan Ormond, and playoff contender Matthew Rodriguez. But, as we said at the very beginning of this race, because of his victory last week, Matthew Rodriguez could DNF today. He can DNF next week. Doesn't matter. He is locked into the round of 12. Rogers coming into pit lane this time from the lead. His teammate Rob Evans, will he stay out to lead a lap? Nope, he's going to come to pit lane. RJ Bishop, Mitchell Collins coming in, Connor Breton. Oh, Shelton got the pit wall! And so did Destin Bolin, and the caution's going to come out. Destin is stuck in the pit wall. They try coming down pit road, I think double file, and they can't do that. That's not a wide enough pit road entry. And Destin Bolin, playoff contender, got stuck in the pit wall. Jessica Shelton, another playoff contender, hit the pit wall prior to that. The caution flag is going to wave, and this is going to shuffle things up once again in terms of our running order. As we got a bunch of drivers on pit lane. Who's even the race leader? Our scoring says it's Zach Rogers. I don't think that's correct. Who was that without a hood? That's Quentin Moore. Check the whole front end off of his car. I don't know what exactly occurred with him. Trying to figure out who our race leader even is. Well, LaPlante just went through the grass, it looks like there. I don't know where he's going. Dollerton's got front end damage now. What the heck all went on right there? And who even is the leader? Is it Levi? I don't know. I don't have a clue who it is. Well, let's go back and take a look at a replay. Let's try and see if we take a look at a couple of replays here. Let's start first with the Jessica Shelton and Dustin Bolin incidents. Shelton came into this race above the cut line by 4 points. Dustin Bolin came in 9 points above the cut line. And we'll see exactly what happened to both of them. I think kind of similar to what happened with Matthew Rodriguez. He had that wider entry into pit road, maybe trying to come to pit road side by side with somebody, trying to outbrake somebody. That's Cole Deaver up ahead of her. No, she just took a wide arc there. And then Zachary Fitzwater gets Destin Bolin further back. And then Dylan Young got into the 12. That's his teammate. And Quentin Moore, now we know why the front end of his car was taken off, because he ran into Jessica Shelton. But here's with the 12 of Destin Bolin. And you can add another playoff contender in Dylan Young to the damage list. Maybe even Benjamin Miles, who got a shot from behind by Dylan Young. And there's Reese Banks. I think he might have gotten a little piece of it as well. The 12 got skewered on the pit wall, so he had to call for a tow. That's going to lose him ground. As a matter of fact, we may have a couple more drivers out of the race as we're waiting for the official word on all of that. And then I want to check and quickly see what went on there with another playoff contender in Austin LaPlante. I saw what looked like potential debris down in the S's, but I'm not 100% certain if that was the case. And we also saw Dollerton had front-end damage. So what went on with those drivers? Let's go to the 83 of Dollerton, who I guess was going around the pace car to get his spot back. And does he get into the back of McIntyre? Oh, he does. He can't see through the dust. He gets the 99. Oh, and that's why LaPlante went through the grass, because then he gets clipped in the left rear quarter panel and gets sent off track. So Dollerton with some damage on the front end of his race car. Levi McIntyre obviously would have damage on the back end of his machine. And again, I don't have a clue who the race leader even is right now. But I guess we'll find out here in just a moment as pit road is open. It looks like most everybody is going to come into pit lane as we are at the halfway point. 2 drivers at least as of right now out of this race, and now at a third. We had Matthew Rodriguez set just before that incident, the only playoff contender out of the event. Add in Dustin Bolin and Jessica Shelton, both involved there in that pit wall incident. And now also add in Dylan Young. That is 4 playoff drivers now that have had issues here tonight that are going to finish this race behind the wall. For Shelton and Bolin, this could put them down below the cut line. Dylan Young was already below the cut line by 2 points. I don't want to say it's a must-win situation for driver number 2 next week, but it could very well be that, depending on how the points shake out. Scoring's got Levi McIntyre as the leader. That is incorrect. He crossed the start-finish line on pit road, with his stall being up past the pit lane in the start-finish line, I should say. Mitchell Collins, who is scored second on your chart, is actually the race leader. He'll get us back under green with Keith Batson in second, Zachary Fitzwater third, Nick Gunther fourth, and Zach Rogers will be the top 5. Looks like Anthony McCrory, Casey Hoyt, and James Qualls actually will be 1 lap down here from 34th back through 36th position. They got a race to get themselves back on the tail end of the lead lap at least. And that is 2 playoff contenders right there in Qualls and Hoyt, a couple of 3-time winners that are currently -1. Green flag back in the air. We're past the halfway point, less than 30 to go here at Chatham Dirt. And at least 1, maybe 2 pit stops left to go, and that pit wall has already claimed a number of victims. I'll bet the crew chiefs are going to be yelling over the intercoms, come to pit road single file, don't try and outbrake somebody. Casey Hoyt sliding through the S's there as they're stacked 3 wide. James Qualls, RJ Bishop, Charles Sanford. Bishop working his way up towards the top 5 there. Dealing with the lap machine of Qualls in the 70. Casey Hoyt also the lap machine there. Looking ahead at the battle for, well, I was going to say for 5th, but it's not. Anthony McCurry is a lap down. Michael Norman's on the lead lap in the 6th position. Further up, here's the battle for 2nd. Zachary Fitzwater, Mid-Ohio winner earlier on this year, looking for a 2nd road course victory. And he'll swing around the left side of Keith Batson. Batson a little off course right there. Fitzwater will take advantage. He'll move to 2nd. Now Nick Gunther looks to capitalize. He'll look for 3rd place, looking for his 2nd win on the season, his 2nd win in the last 3 weeks after he won the regular season finale at Auto Club. It looks like Batson will hold him off at least for the time being. Mitchell Collins working to the inside of Chris Daugherty. You saw Connor Breton coming off of pit lane there, so he's going to fall a lap down after a scheduled, unscheduled pit stop. Not sure. Look at how with him merging back into the field here through the S's, how it kind of congested everybody up. Nick Gunther had to bail out of the throttle. Zach Rogers looking to take advantage. He's got the lap car of Anthony McCurry right in his back bumper. Anthony McCurry and Casey Hoyt and James Qualls, they're going to be aggressive here to try and get their laps back the hard way in case they're able to catch a quick yellow at the right time and be back on the tail end of the lead lap. We're 3 wide here through the turns 1 and 2 area. They're all trying to make their way around the slow machine of Chris Daugherty, who's got that front end damage he sustained from the hit into the back of Levi McIntyre down here in the S's just after the 3rd caution flew. It's like he's trying to yield to the right side there through the S's, let everybody that's faster than him on by. Zach Rogers nearly got off into the grass and overcorrected into Casey Hoyt. Now his teammate Rob Evans will challenge him for, I believe that is the 5th position, but the spots are swapping a lot right now. It's kind of hard to keep track. That was actually for 6th between these 2 teammates out of Evans Motorsports. Nick Gunther trying to make his way around his teammate. The lap car of Anthony McCurry. Woo! Contact there. Michael Norman into the left rear of Connor Breton saying, get out of the way, lap car. And Breton comes battling right back alongside of him. These 2 exchanging maybe a little bit more than pleasantries. Maybe a little sheet metal there. As Mitchell Collins continues to show the way. Remember last week we had a playoff driver win their way into the next round. 17 drivers in the playoffs, but there are 25 drivers that are not battling for the championship that are trying to finish out the season with as many wins as they possibly can. Right now your top 2 are non-playoff contenders, and they could put pressure on the playoff drivers in terms of them having to point their way in to the final 11 spots next week. Mitchell Collins out of Michael Norman Motorsports. He is the 4th highest running in the point standings that is not in the playoffs, 21st overall, and still looking for that first victory here of Season 7. He's got, last time by, about a second advantage over Zachary Fitzwater, who that last time by was about 0.2 quicker. Trying to close up here. Fitzwater's never had a multi-win season, his second full-time season with Evans Motorsports. 2 victories, 1 in each season so far. Indianapolis last year, Mid-Ohio this year. Trying to get his 2nd win of the season, 3rd of his career. Closing up the gap there between himself and Mitchell Collins. That last time by, another 0.2 shaved off, maybe a 1/10.5 for Zachary Fitzwater. Keith Batson right now is the highest running of the playoff drivers. He's in 3rd place. Just ran his fastest lap of the race actually right there at a 39.325. Keith Batson coming to this one 6 points above the cut line, but a lot of drivers beneath him have struggled or are running way down in the order, so it could be a very good points day for Keith Batson if this pans out in his favor. He's got Nick Gunther starting to close up the gap, though, between him. Batson's the only driver inside of the top 5 that's a playoff driver, because you've got Nick Gunther and Michael Norman completing the top 5. So 4 out of the top 5 not battling for the championship. You got to go all the way back here to 6th place to find your next playoff driver, and that is the 6 of Zach Rogers. Rob Evans, another playoff driver, right now in the 7th spot. So you've got all 3 of the Evans Motorsports cars currently up inside of the top 7, with Fitzwater in 2nd and Rogers and Evans in 6th and 7th. RJ Bishop currently in the 8th spot. Good run for him here this afternoon. 9th place is currently Charles Sanford. That's the first time we've mentioned the defending champ all day long. So he's now made his way into the top 10. Right behind him is Daniel Voiles in the 26 car, 2-time winner last season. We saw him play a little bit of strategy earlier on to gain this track position. Kyle Matthews right now scored in the 11th spot, looking for his first win of the season. How about Jesse Turner? Turner started mid-pack. First time we've really talked about him as well. Turner, who came into this race below the cut line. He was 3 points below. Right now inside of the top 15, looking for more as he's trying to close up on Kyle Matthews. Carson Gum currently holding down the 13th spot, but now under fire. Levi McIntyre going to challenge him for it. That's 13th and 14th with Lord Chung in the 15th position. Let's find the rest of your playoff drivers. Looks like Ryan Butcher from 17th is coming to pit lane. So that will move Dylan Poteet up to 19th place. Actually, Reese Banks is on the lead lap again, and he's in 18th. What a turn of fortunes for driver 44. Poteet right now in 19th, as we documented. Will Goss is back on the lead lap now. He's in 21st. Caleb Fogler is battling back here. I believe he just lost 25th to Matt Haas, so drop him back to 26th. Austin LaPlante is currently on the tail end of the lead lap in 31st position. And Ryan Butcher, I believe, has now gone a lap down. The lead, I think, just got exchanged as well. Michael Norman went to the point because I believe our former race leader, Mitchell Collins, came to pit road. So Ryan Butcher is, a lap down right now. And he'll hope for things to cycle here on maybe the final pit stop of the afternoon. We'll have to wait and see about that. Connor Breton is currently 1 lap down. There you see him just behind Michael Norman. So if Norman pits, then Breton should be back on the lead lap. James Qualls is also 1 lap down, and so too is Casey Hoyt. If you're just joining us, we have worked 3 cautions so far here this evening. There is Keith Batson going a lap down the 39 after his pit stop. But we have a total of 6 drivers out of the race, and 4 of them are playoff contenders. Jessica Shelton, Destin Bolin, Dylan Young, Matthew Rodriguez will be scored 37th through 40th this afternoon. Rodriguez already locked into the next round of the playoffs. The other 3 were not. And then Nathan Norman and Jose Mills also out of this race. Norman is coming in. So Breton will get back on the lead lap. Qualls, the lap machine, is coming in. Oh, guys, please don't hit that pit wall. Looks like they all are getting through okay. Does this turn the race lead over to anybody? Anyone stay out an extra lap there? Nick Gunther had already pit. Charles Samper had already pit. Looks like Rogers had already pit. There's Nico Servideo making his second start on the season. Who gets the lead out of all this? Does anyone get the lead out of all this? Maybe not. Michael's being scored second. Who was scored first? Is it somebody else on pit lane? Oh, it was Levi McIntyre. And I think Levi hadn't been to pit road since he was running to the backup by Chris Dalwerton, so he might end up be spending a little bit of extra time on pit lane. Is it Mitchell Collins this is going to cycle around to? Or is it going to be Kyle Matthews? I'm not sure. We got to wait for scoring to update itself here. It could be Laura Chung. I don't know. Are Chung and Matthews on the tail end of the lead lap now? Scoring puts Chung to 31st, puts Matthews to 32nd, and puts Collins to the race lead. So yeah, Mitchell Collins is the new race leader after this cycle of pit stops. And that'll be his 13th lap led, so both he and his teammate Michael Norman have led 13 laps apiece, tied for that bonus point for most laps led. Michael is going to be second after this pit stop cycle has concluded. Keith Batson into third. Fourth place will be Rob Evans, and fifth will be RJ Bishop. So Zach Rogers lost some spots on that exchange. Fitzwater climbed up to sixth. Daniel Voiles now 7th, 8th Carson Gum, 9th Jesse Turner, and Nick Gunther is 10th. Where is Rogers? Oh, he's all the way back here, looks like in the 14th spot. Ryan Butcher is right now in 15th, but he's probably going to have to come to pit road pretty shortly. He was off pit sequence with everybody else, and I can't get over the comeback so far for Reese Banks. Back end completely caved in. He was fighting to get back on the tail end of the lead lap in the early stages of this race after being put a lap down. And he is right now looking to maybe finish out the day in the top 10 if he can gain some more spots on strategy. Teammates battling it out there. That's for 11th. Cole Deaver trying to reel in Charles Samper, who overdrove that left-hander though, did Deaver. And so Samper will put a little bit of a gap between himself and the 3. Impressive run here so far for Jesse Turner. He just ran his fastest lap of the evening, 39.258. Currently holding down a top 10 spot. More than likely will, if he continues to run where he is, be above the cut line heading into the elimination race next week, which I feel like it's going to be so close between drivers that are above and just below that cut line next week. This is a battle for 7th. Daniel Voiles trying to hold off Carson Gum. Carson with a little bit of a slide there through the final section of the S's. That might drop him back into a battle with Jesse Turner for 8th. Fitzwater looking up ahead at, is this a battle for position? No, it is not. Breton is still 1 lap down, and Dalwerton is currently 3 laps down, as drivers in the latter half of the top 10 making their way by the slower Whataburger Ford. Whoa, he checked up the 26 of Daniel Voiles, and Carson Gum is looking to take advantage along with Jesse Turner, wadding him up from 7th place on back, as now Voiles will complete the pass, and it looks like Carson Gum and Jesse Turner should clear him before they get down here into turn 1. RJ Bishop trying to close in on Rob Evans for 4th. Anthony McCrory and Austin LaPlante. This is actually for position on the track. 31st place. Going on right between 2nd and 3rd place, Michael Norman and Keith Batson. LaPlante may not seem like much, but that is a valuable position, a valuable point that he has to get from the 61 as Michael Norman is reeling in his teammate, Mitchell Collins, for the top position. Michael Norman Motorsports this season only has 1 victory amongst its 4 drivers, and that's Nathan Orman's win at Watkins Glen. Michael Norman, Mitchell Collins, and Matt McIntyre, none of them have found victory lane yet this year, and right now they are running 1st and 2nd in the 33 and the 22. Let's shed a little bit of love on a driver making his 2nd start on the season. We saw him back at Suzuka make his debut. Qualified very well, but suffered a DNF. Nico Servideo in the 4th entry out of Blue Oval Automotive, right now holding down the 18th position, trying to get 17th from Will Goss. He's made it further in this race than he did in the Suzuka race, and doing very well here tonight. The other non-charter driver that made the field was Reggie Fogelman. He has been a bit of a qualifying machine ever since he made the jump over to the Haas Racing Toyota. Right now, though, there he is. He is in the 24th position, still on the lead lap. Been very surprised. I don't know if it's the pit strategy or what, but Cody Lamas I thought was going to be a threat all night long with the lap times we saw out of him in the final round of qualifying yesterday, but he is mired back in the 25th position as Dylan Poteet trying to make his way around the 89 of Quentin Moore, who's been trying to stay in the top 20 even with the whole hood missing. I feel like on this section of the racetrack you might want that hood for the aerodynamics for maybe a little bit of draft, but when you get down here to the winding of the S's, no, I don't think you necessarily need aerodynamics there. There are going to be a bunch of drivers, though, a bunch of playoff contenders that are not, at this point in time, going to get the points evenings that they were looking for, unless something drastically happens here in these final 8 laps or so. Shelton, Bolin, Young, Rodriguez. Rodriguez already locked in, but those other 3 with DNFs, that's obviously going to hurt them. Connor Breton is currently a lap down. Austin LaPlante actually is now a lap down as well. Casey Hoyt is currently a lap down. James Qualls is currently a lap down. So not what some of these playoff contenders were looking for. Battle is on for second. Mitchell Collins has been able to scamper away with the race lead after he had that early pressure from Michael Norman. Norman is now faded back, and Keith Batson is on the prowl. Nick Gunther just completed a pit stop. So I think we did have at least one more pit stop these drivers are going to have to make, and they're going to have to make it here in the closing stages. Around 5 laps to go. Does anybody risk it? Does anybody have enough fuel to get to the end? We had those 3 yellow flags, kind of maybe shake up the fuel window. We've gone through at least one cycle of green flag pit stops here. Collins is coming in from the lead. Norman stays out. Batson's in. Last thing we need is a caution coming out here, because then that's really going to make things messy. And I think we would get back green if we had the caution come out at this point, but we would only have about a 1 or 2 lap shootout. But I would honestly love to see we had an interesting cycle there on the last go-round get completed. I'd love to see this one complete and see who cycles out to where. Does Mitchell Collins, with that pit stop, will he be able to leapfrog Michael Norman on pit strategy, get the lead back when it all cycles around to pick up his first win of the season? Or will Norman's veteran savvy garner him his first win of the year? He's going to stay out. An extra lap is Michael Norman. Gutsy call here for the 22. Maybe he's relying on somebody messing up on pit road, bringing out the yellow flag, and he'd have about half the field a lap down. See what this pans out, if it pans out for the 22. He's got nothing to lose. You look at him and Mitchell Collins with the strategies they're playing, they got nothing to lose. They're just in it for wins. They don't have to worry about points anymore. They're not battling for the championship. Gives you a, obviously there's a kind of a silver lining to every cloud. You want to be in that championship battle. As soon as the green flag drops at Daytona, you want to be in that championship hunt. But at the same time, when you find out at the end of the regular season you're not battling for the championship, it frees you up to be able to do a lot of things in terms of strategy to be able to get wins. Looking for the 26 of Daniel Voiles, if he came to pit road this lap. Yeah, he did. There's the 22 of Norman, down and away. Let's watch for his teammate in the 33, because I think that's where we're going to be seeing this battle for the lead take place. Unless 47 of Jesse Turner stayed out an extra lap, which it does not look like that was the case. So let's find the 22. There he is, and where's the 33? There's the 33. Ooh, I think Michael Norman's going to leapfrog Mitchell Collins. And he's going to have a pretty big gap. And they're telling me that they just pushed the 31 of Dylan Pote back behind the wall. Another playoff driver bitten by Chatham Dirt. And we'll have to show you what happened to him via the NNSCRA split cam, because whatever it was, it didn't bring out the caution. We still stay green, and Michael Norman has taken 2 to go. Michael will not get the bonus point for most laps led. Mitchell Collins led 21 laps. The most Michael can lead, if he leads us up to the checkers, would be 18. But he is currently enjoying an almost 5-second lead back to Mitchell Collins, is what scoring just last told me. Levi McIntyre right now is scored, I believe, or make that Daniel Boyce right now being scored in 3rd. Jesse Turner is up to 4th. And right now, RJ Bishop holds down the final spot inside of the top 5 as Michael Norman just crossed the line and saw the white flag in the air. 1 more lap to go for the Pizza Hut Ford Mustang out of Michael Norman Motorsports. The last time we were at a road course at Watkins Glen, it was a Michael Norman Motorsports machine with Nathan Ormond that went to victory lane. And now looking for back-to-back road course wins is that organization. Traffic up ahead there with McCrory and Fogelman trying to stay on the tail end of the lead lap. Looks like Michael Norman going to give them plenty of space as he's got over 5 seconds back to Mitchell Collins. And down the front straightaway for the final time, Chatham Dirt is going to belong to driver 22, Michael Norman. Mitchell Collins just now crossing the line there in 2nd, and Daniel Voiles will cross in 3rd. The top 5 are going to be swept by the blue ovals. Ford 1st through 5th with Turner and Bishop completing that top 5 for them. And Michael Norman becomes yet another different winner on the season, and with being a non-playoff driver, that means that nobody for playoff contenders has locked themselves this week into the round of 12. Michael Norman, who was a 3-time winner last year, as we mentioned, was in the playoffs. Probably came into this playoff season with a chip on his shoulder. At this point, he had already been, I believe, a 2-time winner on the season. And he finally eliminates that goose egg in the win column as he gets it done here tonight at Chatham Dirt. Came down to that final money pit stop, and it was the 22 team that rose to the occasion, gave him a huge gap back to Mitchell Collins. You have to wonder about that call to stay out. The extra lap or 2, he probably came down a less congested pit road. Collins probably had to deal with traffic, and that could have been the difference maker. There you see your top 5, all Fords, and only 1 playoff driver finishing in the top 5, that being Jesse Turner. Going to be a huge points day for driver 47. Should get him back above the cut line heading into next week. Rob Evans, who was only 1 point to the good above the cut line, brings it home in 6th. So a great run for him. He'll have maybe a bit of a cushion. And Keith Batson, who came into this one 6 points above the cut line, also in the top 10 in 7th. So we ended up having 3 drivers last week that had really good runs up inside the top 10. That was Rodriguez, Butcher, and Hoyt. This week it is Turner, Evans, and Batson. Great run there for Zachary Fitzwater as we ended up having 2 of the Evans Motorsports cars in the top 10. Rogers finished in 14, so top 15 for all 3 of those cars. Cole Deaver, great run there in the closing stages. Worked his way up into the top 10 to finish 9th. Nick Gunther, good road course racer, brings it home in the 10th spot. Charles Sanford right behind him in 11th with Levi McIntyre in 12th. How about the comebacks for Will Goss and Ryan Butcher? At some point, I believe Will Goss was a lap down. Ryan Butcher was fighting to stay on the tail end of the lead lap, and they're going to get 13th and 15th position. May not seem like much, but when you consider the nights they were having, to come away with those type of finishes, really, really good for both of them. Of course, Will Goss with the DNF last week needed to get points here tonight, and I think he will take a 13th after the way that the race started out. Ryan Butcher, who came into this race 20 points above that cut line, he may have increased his cushion a bit there. We'll see if it was enough for him to point his way, potentially, if not win his way next week, into the round of 12. And the rest of your playoff contenders, let's see where they finished. Reese Banks, boy, could have been a lot worse for him here today. He brings it home in 17th, but he and Will Goss were the 2 DNF finishers last week. Needed points. They finished in the top 20. We'll see if it's going to be enough. We'll have to find out next week. Got to go all the way down to the 27th position to find our next playoff driver, and that's where you start getting into the drivers that finished off the lead lap. Connor Breton, 1 lap down in 27th position. He came in this race 12 points ahead of the cut line. Will he still be above, or will he fall below with this finish? Caleb Fogler not too far behind him in 29th. Austin LaPlante in 30th. Both those drivers were barely above the cut line coming into this one. Casey Hoyt, he had a bit of a cushion of 24 points, but he finishes a lap down, and he's 33rd on the finishing results. James Qualls was the cut line driver coming into this one. I think he's going to fall below the 12th in the standings cut line with the 34th place run. And look at the playoff drivers that finished out of this race from 36th through 40th. Poteet, Shelton, Bolin, Young, and Rodriguez. Now for Rodriguez, doesn't matter. He is going to be advancing into the next round with his win last week. But where does this place Poteet, Shelton, Bolin, and Young? Young was below the cut line coming into this one. Shelton was just barely above the cut line. Poteet and Bolin had a bit of a cushion, but it wasn't by much. I think it was only 8 or 9 points for the both of them. And then with the fact that they end up finishing down here, I don't know. Now the saving grace that I'm looking at for a lot of these drivers that didn't get the best of runs, like Poteet, like Bolin, like Breton, LaPlante, Fogler, Shelton, is the fact that the drivers that they were battling, they didn't do all that much better. Will Goss, he finished in 13th. Is that enough for him to leapfrog those guys? Dylan Young finished out of the race. Jesse Turner might be one that they'll have to worry about. Rob Evans might be one that they'll have to worry about. And Reese Banks, he already had suffered a DNF last week. I don't know if he garnered enough points to challenge these guys. It's going to be really, really close as to who's above the cut line and who's below the cut line as far as the top 12 heading into next week. And I expect that next week at Nashville Superspeedway, it's going to play its part into shaking it up as well. We've had a lot of drivers in these past 2 weeks now that have run really well and that have run really poorly, and they may kind of cancel each other out from last week to this week. We'll have to wait and see. But Michael Norman is your winner here today at the dirt-covered Chatham Raceway. Hope you guys enjoyed this event. If you did, be sure to give this video a like, subscribe, part of the crew today. We showed you your full finishing results, and we're now showing you your point standings. Again, remember, Matthew Rodriguez, regardless of where he's positioned right now on your point standings, he is locked in. Look at the 11 drivers that are above the 12th in the standings cut line. Those are the drivers right now that are in line to move on with Rodriguez into the next round with one race still to go. Our elimination race next week at Nashville Superspeedway. And hey, the double header is back next week. We get the Duracell Ultra Light Series drivers back as well that weekend. We got qualifying for Cup and the Lights race on Saturday and the Cup race on Sunday. Hope you will join us for that one. We will whittle the field down from 17 to 12 when we head into Nashville, Tennessee. But until then, thank you all for tuning into the coverage of today's race from Chatham Dirt, and we will see you guys next time. As I've been Senful, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.